2025 rolls around. There's been 25 premierships won in this century. This team here, well, they've won 4. The great Lee Matthews held the cup 3 times as a coach, then presented it there for the 4th time last year. And they're challenged by the Cats, who have also won 4. Through, obviously, those 3 years there, 07, 09, 2011, and most recently in 2022. Jeremy Can opening a can of beer there. And one of them this weekend, boys, will become the most winningest team this century. Hawthorn obviously have 4 premierships as well, Geordie, which you were involved in, but the Cats or the Lions will be the only team to get to 5 in 25 years this century. It's going to be a fascinating watch, and they can hold claim to being the most successful club this century, Brownie.
The great thing is, too, they've played each other 3 times this season. So Brisbane won the first 2 encounters at the Gabba and GMHBA, but obviously Geelong were magnificent in that first qualifying final. So when you actually look at the game, you can go into it. You can sort of get right in depth and work out what either team's trying to do. And obviously recent history, what happened 3 weeks ago, probably fresh in our mind, Jack.
Well, that's what we're going to do. We're going to do a bit of a grand final preview here. And it's defensively, Geordie, in that first week of finals that the Cats just really ramped it up on the Lions.
Yeah, we talk about showing your hand. I think Brisbane showed their hand down at GMHBA, which allowed Geelong to go away and understand where they wanted to move the ball. It was clearly they wanted to move the ball a little bit quicker. They wanted to go more straight line in terms of where they go to goal. So this is just a defensive masterclass in which Geelong were able to do in the last round of the season. They know they want to go short. They know they want to take that little short one, then go over the top and put speed on the ball. So you have to be aware. So once again, looking at the grand final preview, I suppose, this is the defensive actions and accountability and energy in their feet that they will need, because Brisbane will challenge them from their back half. We understand Geelong's vulnerability is if sides can score goals from back half. 2 of the wins this year, Brisbane have got over Geelong. They've scored heavy from their back half. It's a big challenge.
Clearly, Bucks, that Geelong had dominated in that first week of finals defensively. Is that solely what the Lions will go to town on? Because that is their one wood off half-back, and that's where the Cats can get beaten.
No, I think they can improve in that area. Another one that they can improve on is centre bounce, where, we spoke about Patrick Dangerfield earlier, but they absolutely dominated centre bounce against the Lions in the qualifying final as well. They scored 3-3 versus a goal. But they had those 12 centre clearances, 11 of them went inside forward 50. So 91% of their clearances from centre bounce went inside their forward 50. So if they didn't score from that, they still had field position, which put the Brisbane back 6 under fierce pressure. So the centre bounce crew of the Lions need to do a better job. You're going to win them all, but you've just got to make sure that they're not coming out as easy or going as deep when the Cats come out of centre bounce.
Brisbane have scored from centre bounce throughout the year, but they have shown vulnerability conceding centre bounce goals all season. So you're right, Bucks. They're going to be right onto that.
Let's take a look at a couple of the big matchups from the weekend, or this weekend upcoming. Is that the last time these two sides played, it was pretty clear that O'Shea Mullen was set for Hugh McCluggage, and Brownie, he did an absolute number on him.
Yeah, it was an amazing performance. Great effort. He's a great athlete. Was able to go with Huey and blanket him. Now, clearly, obviously, Huey would go to work on that and the rest of the midfield for the Lions, but what do? Do you just go with the same formula, Lee? That's the thing as a coach, it's he's sort of on hiding to nothing, Chris, isn't he? Because if he doesn't do it and McCluggage gets away, he'll get absolutely hammered. But you sort of feel too, Mullen could be as needed in defence like he did the job on Nick Watson on the weekend. So it's still a conundrum, I think, for the Geelong coaching staff, what you do.
So, Lethal, do you think Mullen goes to McCluggage?
Well, I think you probably would. I mean, it's really interesting when you've played a side a few weeks apart, like this has happened. And remember back in 2003, we played Collingwood in the first final. Collingwood won, and then we played again in the grand final. I felt as coach kind of better prepared, or things that didn't work for us in the first final, you could try and remedy a little bit come grand final day. But in this case, Mullen did such a good job on McCluggage, and McCluggage has been so good the last 2 weeks. I mean, seriously, you won't just say, oh, no, we're not going to tag you today. We're just going to let you run around. Yeah. I mean, you'd have to start with it. I mean, but Chris Scott's pretty smart. He knows that just because you did it once doesn't mean you're going to have to do it, 3 weeks later. But I'd be really surprised if you didn't sort of go with something that worked. And it worked really well, didn't it?
Yeah. Well, as a tagger, as a player that's been tagged his whole career, what would you like and not like if you're Hugh McCluggage?
Yeah, well, if Mullen was was under his jumper as well. It was a physical
back
tag.
tag,
He was really going hard.
So
at
if you're
him as well.
McCluggage and Mullen comes to you,
Oh, yeah, I don't think he would enjoy
wouldn't like-
Mullen
yeah.
coming to him, and he would rather free wheel and say go one-on-one against a Holmes or a Smith, but that's not going to happen. I think Mullen will go to him, but a tag can be effective. It needs more than one reason for it to be effective, and I thought Brisbane's ball use was actually probably as poor as we've seen it, and I think that will improve and give McCluggage more of a crack at it. And McCluggage's work rate himself, which he has said that he actually dropped away. So it'll be a harder challenge for Mullen this time around. And I'm sure McCluggage in some way would relish the challenge of turning the tables.
We've got Dangerfield versus Dunkley. We've got Gardner versus Cameron. But I want to go back a couple of weeks, Geordie, and you put this on the agenda. Harris Andrews versus Mark Blitzarves.
well, I just wonder when you're talking about showing your hand once again, and they didn't get the matchup, but I think the issue this time is clearly Stewart goes out, and Stanley, we anticipate Stanley to come in. So Blitzarves, what does he do? I think they cannot play Neil on Harris Andrews. That just can't happen again. He hasn't performed in the two games, or the most recent two games. It has to be, in my opinion, Mark Blitzarves. I think he's smart enough. I think if he plays on Harris Andrews, he could kick you 3 or 4 goals, potentially a Norm Smith. I just think that is an obvious matchup for me, with Stanley back in and Stewart out.
He's in career best form, Harris Andrews, All-Australian this year.
But Blitzarves, because his ruck function has just been enormously valuable. Like, he's been massive because he helps him at ground level, not the aerial stuff, but ground level, he becomes a better extra running midfielder. To take him away from that, I know Stanley's available again.
You wouldn't
but
play Stanley?
No.
Well, to be honest, when you think about it, I know I talk about the sub, you'd always think like, well, maybe Stanley has to be the sub on the basis that Blitzarves has been so good.
What if
In the
you're
ruck.
looking for a remedy, why doesn't Stanley just go to Andrews and then you just play the way that you
Or
have?
something.
With
No,
Blitzarves?
I don't think Stanley's got the smarts. No disrespect
All
to
he
play.
needs, all you need is someone who's big enough and tall enough
No, you need to be
to force Harris Andrews into a contest.
No. You need to be smart.
But in the further game a couple of weeks ago, I mean, Harris Andrews, gets hold of everybody. But he didn't dominate that back group. The Geelong had, 21 inside 50 marks. Shannon Neal didn't take them. So that matchup didn't do Geelong any harm 3 weeks ago.
Plenty
We should see Dunkley on Dangerfield too. He's probably the only bloke that could quell him in some
It's going to be
shape.
fascinating whether he can quell Patrick Dangerfield. It's going to be a huge week here on Fox. Obviously, all the shows Thursday night you can see there, the 6:30 edition. That is the grand final edition. And of course, the parade, 10 a.m. 100,000 people line the streets of Melbourne to see the two teams there. And what would be grand final week without the boys from Bounce and a special 90 minutes. And then, of course, the big day starts at 10 a.m. live here in Fox. You'll hear from everyone at Fox on a huge grand final week.